Welcome back, party people, to another episode of the Art and Science of Difficult Conversations, where we believe if you communicate better, you live better. I'm Chris. I'm one of the hosts, and I own Leadership Potential, where I work with leaders to navigate difficult situations and relationships and conversations. One of the things that always comes up is feedback. How do I give good feedback? And I think people actually don't really ask us if they are giving good feedback or not. Most of the time, people are asking us, how do I deal with this person who doesn't receive my feedback well, whether it's an employee or up or whatever. They're not listening to me, or they're pushing back or fighting or whatever. So today's compilation, we're still in rest month. So today's compilation is really, how do you give good feedback? What are the mistakes that you might not even realize you're making? And then what's an example of how do you give that feedback? So we're going to show you some of the things from this past season about giving good feedback. Let us know what you think. Let us know in the comments below. Do you give good feedback and it's just not working out well? Or how do you like to give feedback? Do you like the sandwich method? Do you like the SBI? Do you like some other method? Whatever it might be. But let us know in the comments. How do you like to give feedback and how does it usually work out for you? See you next week. How do you give feedback that lands and sticks and gets the results you want? Today, we'll talk about those 5 elements that really make feedback effective. Welcome back to the Art and Science of Difficult Conversations, where we believe when we communicate better, we live better. As always, I'm Chris. I'm here. I'm one of your hosts, and I'm always joined by Lucie. Lucie, how are you today?
I am pretty good, Chris. Thank you. I want to live better.
You want to live better.
So that's why we are here.
That's all we do here is trying to live better, communicate better.
Absolutely.
So today we are going to talk about something that I don't think there's a number on the limit of articles and books and discussions that people have had about this topic. And we're going to add our hat into the ring of having a podcast episode about it. But I've listened to lots of episodes about it. I've gone to trainings on how to do this. And it seems to be definitely an art and a science to this as well. But how do you give feedback that gets the results you want out of giving that feedback? Now, Lucie and I have been either giving feedback or we've been coaching others to give feedback for quite a while. And so we've come up with, as we've kind of brainstormed and thought about this, we've come up with these 5 really important keys that every bit of feedback you give needs to have in order to have an impact. And so could you miss one of these things? Yeah, you could still have an effect. We're just saying that these are the 5 that if you have them together, you're going to really increase the probability of success with your feedback. Is that fair to say, Lucie?
I think so. And I would say, if you don't have the time, if you're overwhelmed and busy like everybody else nowadays, and you don't have the time right now or the bandwidth to read the books, listen to our episode, because if you follow at least these 5 steps, it really increases the chances that your communication will be better, will be more effective, will be received better, and you will have more enjoyable moments in your work and in your life as a result. Who wouldn't want?
Now, I want to be clear, set the framework first, or the context. When we are talking about feedback in this context, we are talking about as if you are a manager giving feedback to your employee. I will say this, that this approach can work with any kind of situation. You could use it giving feedback up or sideways or anybody. You just have to modify it a little bit, but the framework and the basic structure is still there. So let's jump into it. Before we really dive into it, let me tell you all 5 so you don't think that we're just kind of holding out on you. So the 5 things you need to 5 keys to success here are, number 1, you have to have a framework and a plan of how you're going to give that framework. You can't wing it. You have to know exactly what you're going to say and how you're going to say it. Secondly, you need to be concrete, be specific, and have data if necessary. Third, you want to be able to manage yourself. You got to be in a calm place if you want to get to that, be able to give that feedback. Number 4, timing and location is everything. They will make a big world of difference in terms of how the feedback is received. And the 5th one, you got to add an accountability structure. Just giving somebody feedback is only half the equation. You have to have another part where you have some sort of accountability follow-up. So let's dive into it. Number 1, have a framework and have a plan of how to give that feedback. Now, I there's so many different models out there. There's the ABC model, SBI model, countless other models. Lucie, what model are you usually typically following?
I like the SBI feedback model, which says situation, describe what is the situation, give the context for that feedback. Then behavior, what is the behavior that you're observing, which helps with us when we are not giving assumptions. We are not saying, you are this way and I need you to be different. No, this is the observable, objective behavior that's being observed. You didn't fill out the form last time or twice this time, which comes together also give the data. You need to have data, so you provide specific observable behavior. Then the next step is for I, impact. What is the impact on you? What is the impact on the project? What is the impact on the team? What is the impact on anybody else who is involved? Which again is making it more objective rather than pointing fingers, but really owning when this happens, the impact on me is I need to then stay longer at work and work for 2 extra hours. Then I'm late for my family with my kids. I don't know. It could be. Or the impact is we are delayed. We're risking being delayed with the payroll, say. And then there's the impact on everybody else because they're getting paid 1 day later, which for some people can make a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
They could be upset, let's say, providing that type of feedback. What really is the impact? Which the impact on that when we provide feedback from this way, when we are saying this is the impact on me, this is the impact on the team, we are not blaming. It doesn't seem more as a blame. It's really sharing what is from our perspective. This is the impact.
Mm-hmm.
And then usually to follow that, what's coming up for you when you hear this? Is that also from your end, how this is showing up? Or so have a question, ask for more details, their perspective, or have a request. This there is a standard. We need to meet that standard. How can we partner together? What can we do together to get there? Something needs to change. What can we do together to change that? And then from that, collaborate. Be your approach that you're using.
Well, I was just thinking as you were sharing that, I've seen that model so many times, and they call the SBI model, but really it's the SBICRC model. Like there's lots more things that happen after you talk about the impact.
Yes. Yeah.
The thing I use, I don't actually even have a name for it. I learned it in a training long ago, and it's very similar to SBI. It's just 3 steps, but it's very straightforward. You just talk about what they did that's correct or incorrect, what the impact of that behavior is, and then what you want them to do differently in the future.
Yeah.
Just those 3 steps. And then if it's a coaching conversation or you want to have a coaching conversation, like that's meant to be like, you just walk by, let me give you this 30-second feedback. I need to tell you to do this differently. But if you're having a longer conversation, then after you tell them the impact of that or the consequence of that behavior, then you ask them for their input. Have you noticed that? What's coming up for you? And then you talk about what are we going to do going forward. So it's very similar. You just you can kind of modify it however you need to. And
exactly.
You could do it for positive feedback too. If Lucie, you just facilitated a workshop and you knocked it out of the park and you did an incredible job, I'm going to say, Lucie, in that workshop you just did, some of the activities you ran, you were able to get people who are introverted to share. You're able to get everybody's input together, and you really deliver an experience where everybody was learning. This is going to be something that's impactful for them, and they're going to take back to their work. I don't need to tell you to do anything differently because you just did it. So that's it.
Yeah.
Just keep doing those things.
Ask me questions.
Yeah, I can ask you questions, but
you don't need.
Yeah, it works for.
Just can stop with SBI and that's it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So you can obviously just use it for positive and negative feedback, but if you're listening, you can see it doesn't even matter which one you use. They're very similar. All of them are very similar. They're all kind of just doing their thing, right? It's really about you got to know what you need to say, and then part of that leads into the second one. You got to have specific data and be specific. When you're giving feedback, if you've ever heard, I need you to be more assertive, or you need to stop being rude, right? Those kind of things we think are descriptive, but the problem is everybody interprets them differently.
It's more of a judgment rather than
It's a
description.
judgment.
Yeah,
Right, exactly. And so you might say, but I wasn't rude in that meeting. I thought I was just stating what I needed to say. I just was
exactly.
saying my piece. So
I'm being honest.
I'm being honest. I'm not being rude. And so you need to focus on specific concrete behaviors, right? So thinking about instead of saying you were rude, saying, Lucie, in that meeting, you interrupted Tom multiple times while he was trying to answer a question, while he was trying to share. Right. That's the specific behavior that's very clear. There's no getting around that. Right. So when you're thinking about that, Lucie, when you're thinking about being concrete and specific, what else are you thinking about?
I would say it empowers the conversation in a way that it eliminates the gray area and misunderstanding. So it helps people to really get on the same page with what happened and what is the impact of that. And without specific data, I know some leaders, they're uncomfortable sharing the specific negative feedback, and they package it so well that the person, they thought they gave hints of the behavior, but the other person, without having the specific tangible data, they think they're just doing fine. So the specific data can provide really also the ground for accountability in the future too.
Right, right. And it takes it out of your personal judgment of you just
Absolutely.
don't like the way they're doing something into no, you actually are doing this.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and it's easier for people to wriggle out of or minimize something if you can't prove it, right? If you say, Lucie, you've been late multiple times over the past week. Well, when was I late?
Yeah.
Just a couple of times. I think I was only late once. Like I can admit that I was late once. But if I have like specific data saying, hey, based on the clock in times, you were late last Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and yesterday, you can't wriggle out of that because I have data, and we don't even have to argue about
Exactly.
the data. We can say this is the facts. That we're not going to argue about whether it's true or not. This is what happens.
True. Yeah. So it already moves the conversation forward rather than being stuck at, oh, that is not true. Give me the data. Give me the proof.
Exactly, exactly. So
Which takes extra effort or might take extra effort on the leader's side to really be organized themselves. Or maybe have a Google document with each employee and put notes and
right,
feedback there. Because all of us, we can forget what we wanted to say, or so really be also diligent with our own and keeping track record.
yeah. Although I guess
And
now
from
that's
okay, yeah, go ahead.
well, I was going to say as we talk about this example, now I'm thinking, why did you let this go for so long if they were late for 4 times?
That's true too, yes. But it can happen. So let's say if you
It
haven't
can
had
happen.
those conversations before, this is the podcast for you.
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
start tracking it. Create that, get a notebook or a Google document on your computer or some file where you can put your notes. Of
Right.
course, keep them private.
Right, right, right. And I think that's also helpful to even for you as a manager to conceptualize, is this important enough for me to give this feedback?
Yes,
If if I like love black pen ink, but you keep writing in blue pen ink, is it really that important that I'm writing all this
it's
down? As I'm writing it down and thinking about the impact, I'm like, actually, it doesn't really matter. It's annoying. Like I just like black pen ink better, but it might not be that important. And so maybe you don't need to give feedback after all.
it also makes me think when we write things down, another benefit, it could be looking at the balancing positive and negative feedback
Yeah,
and intentionally see
yeah,
if you can find also things that you can give positive feedback on.
yeah. I think that's fair
Because
for sure.
just if the employee only gets the negative feedback, what could be the impact on that employee?
Yeah. This is making me think. A side note: what do you think about the feedback sandwich?
Could work in some situations. Let's say when there's positive, negative, positive. It could be tricky for those leaders that are so super nice. They sandwich it so well
Yeah,
that the person leaves away from that feeling, they're doing fine. Yeah, there were some small things, but it really doesn't matter because there's so many other things they're doing well. So I
Yeah,
see the
yeah, yeah,
possible risk in that.
yeah. I'm not a
What
fan
can-
of it.
Mm. Yeah.
I heard this analogy a long time ago, and it's stuck with me ever since. That when you're eating a sandwich, you're not
Mhm.
eating a bread bologna bread sandwich. You're eating a bologna sandwich, right? It's the middle part that's really the most
Good one.
important, and
Yes.
by doing that, you risk diluting the message of what you're
Exactly.
trying to send if you're too nice,
Yep.
or if you have an employee that maybe you weren't nice, maybe you were very straightforward and did everything the way you were supposed to, but the employee just heard the good thing at the end and said, "You know what? I guess
Yeah.
I'm doing pretty well. This is great.
Exactly. Yeah.
Got some stuff
So
to work on, but yeah, I'm knocking it out of the park."
so that could be tricky. Yeah. So maybe
So
balancing it out, give clear positive feedback, and then find times to also for constructive feedback when necessary.
yeah, I had an employee when she like when I first worked with her, like when we started, I asked her, "What's how do you like to receive feedback?" She actually requested the feedback sandwich. She's like, "I actually like, positive, negative feedback, positive." And I talked to her about it. I said, "Listen, I'm happy to give you positive feedback with that critical feedback. That makes sense. I'm not opposed to that. I don't think this sandwich works the way you want it to." And we talked about like why she wanted it that way, and all reasonable things, reasons why she wanted it that way. So I don't want to discount like her reasonings for it. So we were able to agree, let's do this positive and negative at the same time. We won't, it's never going to be all negative. It's going to be, a balance, which I agreed with. It's fine to do a balance.
Yeah.
So,
And
but
what
having
I
that
love
conversation,
what I love about your approach really also getting on the same page and getting an agreement about and permission to provide the feedback and what kind of feedback works for them.
yeah,
That could be very empowering for the employees. So they already know, yeah, there's going to be feedback. And that feedback, if we create that safety, that the feedback is not you are a horrible employee and you're doomed forever, or you will never get a promotion if you make one mistake. But this feedback, this constructive feedback is my way of supporting you because I want you to be successful.
that's right. That's right. Yeah.
So really also making sure that the perception of the feedback, that we position it in a way as this is a way of support, not a punishment.
Right. And speaking of how we're packaging that feedback leads into our next point, which is managing yourself. And this is actually the reason why we're even doing this is because that last podcast recording we did, we went into a tangent a little bit about there's often a lot of people who are really nice. They don't want to give too critical feedback because they had a lot of critical managers themselves, so they don't want to repeat that. Fair. And so now they are stuck in I want to be nice, but I still need to give the feedback that gets
Yeah.
things done. And so with that, this is what you really are passionate about. What are you thinking about in terms of managing ourselves and reframing how we even think about feedback?
That reframe can be really helpful looking at when somebody's value is being a kind person. I want to be kind, empathetic person towards others. And that's the leader I want to be. I really want to ask questions and listen and be kind because I don't want to be like my previous leader who was really harsh with everybody. And that's why I left the company. I had clients telling me that.
Mm,
And now they're faced with, yeah, but this employee, they are not really getting my feedback. And I feel I need to be telling them the things that I don't want to say because I still want to have a good relationship. I still want to be a nice person. I don't want to be mean. And I feel I'm afraid if I tell them that, it's going to be like I'm being mean to them. So we really explore what is the impact if the employee doesn't get the feedback. What are the possible consequences of that? Well, the problem never gets fixed. The leader might get additional work on their plate, especially if
mm,
they're already overwhelmed. So it can lead
mm,
to their even burnout down the road, possibly being resentful and additional stress because they know they should have the conversations, but they are avoiding it. So the discomfort, emotional cost on their well-being, cost on for the company, maybe increased mistakes can have impact on other departments in the company or the projects, could be financial impact,
mm.
and also the impact on the growth of the person. Well, if they feel they or think they are doing great, there's nothing wrong. They will never be motivated, incentivized to grow or change. And so is that really helping? Is that being kind to them? Really? Or would that really actually support them if they receive that feedback so they can change? One of my recent sessions was the person was worried if she gives the person feedback, unless something changes, he's not going to get the next contract. And she didn't want to give him the feedback. And then she realized, well, if he gets the feedback, then yes, he might quit right away. And yeah, then we get somebody else. Or if he gets the feedback and then he really wants to keep that job, that gig, that project going for another contract, then it can motivate him to change. And all of us can benefit. And he will have the opportunity to continue having income through our company. So she realized, well, if I really want to serve him and support him, which I really want, I need to give him the feedback, even though it's uncomfortable for me.
Love that insight.
And so really reframing that for ourselves. Is that being kind to them when we are keeping them in the dark in a way?
Right.
Or is it robbing them from the opportunity to grow?
That's a powerful reframe. I think that's absolutely right. I think we're trying to protect people from certain things, but really we're trying to protect ourselves.
Yeah.
Right. From any potential negative reactions.
So it's about also preparing ourselves emotionally. For, okay, what if they get frustrated? Okay, so how do I keep myself calm while they're going through the emotions? And they have the right to feel however they are feeling. How can we reaffirm them that this is because we want to support them and have that trusting relationship?
Right. Yeah, it's not our job to manage other people's emotions.
Exactly. And so that also the distinction, what is my responsibility? Am I responsible for their emotions, or am I responsible just for my own right now and managing my own so I can stay calm, even when it's uncomfortable, so I can stay centered and really say what I need to say?
Yeah. Awesome. I don't have anything to add to that. I think that makes sense.
So I think then we can go to the next point.
Yeah, timing and location is everything. I think I think obviously location, you want to give feedback in a place. I think if a lot of people are taught give praises in public, criticisms in private. I think that's fair. I think that's the kind of team dynamic you want to create is you don't want to be giving this really, you can give positive feedback in public, go for it. You want to give critical feedback or constructive feedback in private because there's a lot of emotions and you don't want to get people defensive about it. You want them to be able to listen, right? Unless it's very urgent that you give that specific 30-second feedback, right? Like a safety issue. Or something that's really dangerous, you need to give that feedback immediately. Don't worry about everybody else. But outside of that, talk about that stuff privately so you don't have to worry about people's emotions and you won't be interrupted. And timing, we were talking about timing ahead of this because we agree timing is everything, right? So when you think about feedback, giving specific feedback, what are you thinking about in terms of how soon to give that feedback?
If something happens within the weekend, we have weekly one-to-ones, I would say that could be an opportunity to provide regular feedback. What's going well, what's working well, what might use some tweaks, what might need to change. So giving regular feedback in those one-to-one meetings could be beneficial. Again, if that's safety issue, as soon as possible. You've mentioned a great example if somebody's giving a workshop for the full day when we're preparing for this before recording. True. If they're exhausted at the end of the day, they might not be in the right mental space to receive a comprehensive feedback on how the workshop went. So that might not be the best timing and space for that. So also really making sure that the other person is also in that right space and they do have the time, that you have the time for that feedback. It's not like in the hallway, you give them feedback when people can pass by, but really having a private space. There was one thing, maybe you saw me making a face because that reminded me when you were sharing, give positive feedback publicly. negative constructive feedback privately. For some people, even the positive public feedback could be triggering for them, especially if they're very introverted. It might create very uncomfortable feelings in them.
Great point. Fair point. That's fair.
So that could be, to your point previously, really when you have your team have the conversation how they like your feedback, even a positive feedback.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do they love to be acknowledged in front of others? Some people, yes, please, anytime. Some people, no, really, I would love to hear the positive feedback, but let's keep it in our meetings, please. Because I really don't I feel very uncomfortable being on the spotlight.
Yeah. I think that's worth another discussion, because then you risk by not even acknowledging it in public, you risk other people saying, well, why doesn't Lucie acknowledge Chris's good work? Like, if I'm
team environment,
right. So like, I think that gets into like that hard part of like team dynamics is, yes, I agree with, like, yeah, it makes sense. Let's
on the
have
personal level.
if you want to be personal, let's have it one-on-one. Let's talk about, I'll save it for that. It becomes a little bit hard now, like, what kind of tone are you setting for the rest of the team? And so then I would have that conversation. It's like, I'd like to still acknowledge that you did this.
Yes.
We don't have to dwell on it. We don't have to spend a lot of time on it. What's a good way I can do that without kind of putting you out?
Fantastic. Love it. Kind of getting an agreement for what works for everybody. What's motivating for them.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think there's also a risk if you don't acknowledge in public, right? Maybe not giving feedback.
I agree.
You should still acknowledge, right?
Great point. Yes.
So the last thing is adding accountability structures. I think this is the one that I think a lot of people miss. And even if they don't want to miss it, they don't know how to do it. And so it's really thinking about, it's not adding in accountability measures is really vital. Nobody disagrees with like having accountability. There's plenty of trainings and workshops on how to increase accountability.
True.
And adding in accountability measures after the fact is very hard. It's very difficult because life gets in the way. And so, my favorite question when I ask this or when I coach anybody to do this is, as soon as you've come up with a plan of what's the next step, you're going to do this, or we all agree you're going to do this next step. Yeah. The question I have everybody ask is, what do you want to do if it doesn't work? What do you think we should do if that doesn't work? Whatever variation of that is, it doesn't really matter. It's just, you want to talk ahead of time. What happens? Right. And so I've had a leader ask or feel hesitant of asking that because they asked, but aren't we like setting them up for failure, or aren't we assuming they're going to fail at this? And the answer is no, right? The answer is, you are just assuming something might get in the way. It might be they just don't do it, which is possible. Let's talk about like what happens if you just don't do it. Maybe we have to go to HR, or life gets in the way, right? Like maybe there's a lot of personal things going on that prevent you from doing this. What do you want to do? How do you want to address this? And so coming up with that collaboratively ahead of time can help you create that accountability measure. Like, okay, well, let's check in 2 weeks and see how things are going. Or, I don't know how this is going to work. I don't know if I can really make it. Can we check in next week to make sure I'm on track here? But talking about it right then and there while it's still fresh and you've gotten agreement on the next step, that can really solve a lot of headaches ahead of time. But what's your way of adding accountability structures?
I agree. Agreeing on the next steps. Often it could be even so having them come up with the next steps.
Yep.
Rather than the leader saying, I think you should do this, to get a buy-in from the person, and which is increased accountability. What do you think could be the next steps? And having them think things through, and maybe asking them, what do you think could get in the way? What would be the support for you or steps to prevent this getting in the way? Or when that gets in the way, what would be the steps to address that? And plan for, scenario 1, scenario 2 if needed. And again, figure out, when do we need the next step for us, our conversation? Where do we review? Could be having a structure when we meet next. I would love to know first what worked well. What do you want to celebrate? Let's celebrate first start on a positive note, and then let's explore anything that got in the way. What kind of support do you need to
Yeah.
move forward?
Yeah, the ongoing follow-up. I think that's key,
Yeah.
right? I think it's
Mhm.
I think that's why I think project management is one of those skills that every leader needs to have to some degree.
Yeah.
Obviously, you don't need a certification, but you need to know how to manage a project, which is all of this. Everything we talked about is how do you manage that project? How do you set up milestones and how do you set in regular check-ins?
Mhm.
I think that's key. I think that's a great point. Is how do you continually follow up and celebrate the successes and things that need to be course corrected along the way, right? Not just waiting for let's talk about this next year at your
Yeah.
performance review.
Exactly. Well, I gave you the feedback, so now you should know what to do.
Yeah, now you just do it, right?
Exactly.
One scenario I'm wondering, Lucy, this comes up before is a leader is in a meeting and a leader from a different team, maybe a different VP, comes up to me and says, let's say you report to me and says, hey, Chris, Lucy did this in a meeting. It was really messed up or, really inappropriate, whatever. So essentially implying that I need to give you feedback about something that this other VP or this other leader saw in a meeting.
Yeah.
How do you approach that? Or how do you kind of navigate that?
That's a tricky one, depending on the relationship and among. That's a good question. I would say again, looking at is this really important? Having the feedback first with the VP, seeing really understanding what happened, getting the data,
Mm-hmm.
and then using the, let's say, SBI to provide that this is the situation, this is the meeting, this is the behavior that's been observed, this is the impact. What can we do? What's going on? What's your perspective on that? What is your side of the story? This is what I've heard. I want to also know your side of the story, of the situation,
Yeah.
and see how can we figure this out because we need to all work together. And what would be the next steps? Do you want to talk directly? Is there any change needed? Is the feedback that's it?
That's fair. Yeah.
How would you approach this?
I've had the leaders or I've always told leaders don't give that feedback
Mm-hmm.
because you weren't there, you don't know really what was happening.
Yeah.
But I think like you, I would ask that VP or that other leader, anybody, I would just
Yeah.
get more details. Like, can you
Mm-hmm.
describe more what happened?
Yeah.
If they really feel bold, they can also ask the other leader, that sounds like it was really terrible or really difficult. That's
Yeah.
tough. What did they say when you gave them that feedback? And then you're basically implying that they should have given that feedback because they saw it directly.
Mm. Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's weird to be put in that position
Difficult to
and
navigate. Yeah.
difficult to navigate. I'd say just ask like, what do you want me to do with this information? Because I wasn't there, so how could I give this feedback?
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
always find it weird. How can you give feedback that you weren't there to see? Unless it was so detailed and you like have a very clear idea of what happened.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, it's again like those most people are giving you that secondhand knowledge of like, hey, this person was rude during that meeting. But what does that mean? And how often did it happen?
Exactly.
And how big was it? Like, or that person was unprofessional. Like I need more
A lot of feedback.
details.
Exactly.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
need like details that'll help me because
Yeah.
otherwise I can't give that feedback. Even if I wanted to, even if I was like, even if I agreed this person shouldn't be unprofessional. What do they need to do differently? I have no idea what to tell them.
It can be tricky, and it depends on the relationship we have. Some people are more comfortable, and the specific details. Sometimes it is important that the person, let's say, if they were giving a workshop, and in that workshop, some things happened, and maybe the VP will never interact with them ever again. Yeah, the behavior could be concerning for the overall performance of that person.
Right. Right.
So that we gather data, and that could be part of the conversation. And of course, make sure that we gather data from them, what's happened for them from their perspective,
Right.
and not siding with anybody, but really being more of that curious, non-judgmental state. I want to know what happened. I'm here to support you. What was your side of the story?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So there we have it. We have those 5 big key strategies. Number 1, have a framework or a plan of how to give that feedback. Number 2, be concrete and have the data if necessary. Number 3, manage yourself, your own expectations, your own emotions, your own frame, how you're even framing that feedback to yourself. Number 4, recognize that timing and place is everything. So get the right timing, get the right place. And then 5, add accountability structures. Find the way to make sure you're holding them accountable, because I don't know, it's hard for people to hold themselves accountable. Like, how many people create New Year's goals and don't follow through on them?
True, it's
You
one of the
know?
biggest obstacles and challenges, yeah. And
Yeah,
also set the boundary possibly. If this doesn't happen, if
exactly.
this doesn't change, it could be part of
Right.
the accountability conversation, really setting the boundary, sharing the consequences.
Right. Exactly. So that's it. There we have it. Those 5 things. I think those are the keys that have always helped me when I'm giving feedback, to make sure the feedback goes over well. Like Lucie mentioned before, they're not always gonna be happy with that feedback, right? But that's not the goal, right? If
Mm.
you are telling them all the things they've done wrong, I don't know, everybody's gonna be like, I'm super happy you told me all this. Like, most people would feel some sort of way about it, even if they're like
True.
glad to get feedback and move in a positive
Yeah.
direction. Still doesn't feel great to everybody.
No,
So it's all really about, how do you get the results you need? How do you move things forward and be kind and clear and compassionate by giving that feedback?
absolutely. And I would say be kind also long term rather than kind at the moment. Well,
Mm,
for now, let's just feel good for this today.
yeah,
But
yeah,
is that strategically being kind, strategically long term for that person?
yep,
Is that kindness
absolutely.
really kindness?
Yeah.
So checking in with ourselves.
So there you have it. A little bit different than our regular episodes, only because we don't do a role play, because we've been giving you examples all along. So, but let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. Either email us or comments, and let us know below. Did we miss something? Are we wrong? Do you feel like we just need to be more direct? And we talk about this all the time. Is it depends a lot on the relationship too,
True. Yeah.
right? Some of the bosses I've had that I've been with them for 4 years or more, we get to a pretty good rhythm where they can just tell me what's up, and
Yeah.
I understand. I know what needs to happen next. We don't need to have a long sit down discussion about like what the next steps are, because
Yeah.
we've already gone through that. We have a good sense of like a good flow of what happens next. But yeah, if you're still building that routine, or if you're still trying to figure things out, then yeah, it might take a little bit more time for sure. But
And if you are dealing with a situation at work right now and you have some concerns about giving that feedback, let us know. Email us, message us. We can role play that scenario for you.
absolutely. Thanks, Lucie. As always, always a pleasure. Thank you for everybody listening. How do you deal with an underperformer that suddenly wants a promotion and maybe even thinks they deserve a promotion? Welcome back to the art and science of difficult conversations. As always, I'm Chris. I'm here. I'm chilling. And as always, I'm here with Lucie. Lucie, how are you today?
I am pretty good today, Chris.
Well, Lucie, I think this is a topic today, is something my wife actually dealt with when she was a manager. And I think I hear this a lot from other people, but basically, you got an underperformer on your team who's suddenly pushing you, saying, "Hey, I need a promotion, or I want a promotion, or I need this raise, or whatever, to the next level." But they're seriously not at that level. They don't have the skill set. They're not even doing their job correctly or on time. So you're not even thinking about training them, because you just want them to do their job first before they do anything else. So I'd love to get your thoughts on that. Why do you think that happens? Why do you think that seems to be a trend of somebody's not doing their own job really that well, but they're looking forward to the next thing and they're even pushing it a little bit?
Hmm. There could be different reasons, and one of them could be there was not enough um, constructive feedback previously and communication. So they might be thinking, I'm doing great. Everybody's telling me everything is fine. So I deserve this next level promotion. I am ready. Everything's been fine.
Mm-hmm.
So that could be one explanation.
Yeah.
Another could be, let's say they were being given the feedback. Well, some people still, if let's say they have some challenging personal situation, no matter what the feedback, they try to push for the more money, for more promotion.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be personal reason, let's say, really pushing them there. And maybe they're not performing. So there could be reasons why they're not performing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anything else? What would you say could be a reason for this disconnect?
Yeah, I think also I like to sometimes give managers some credit. I imagine some managers or many managers are probably giving that constructive feedback, but the person's just not listening. They're not receiving it. You tell them they need to get the reports in on time, and for some reason their brain connects it to, oh, I'm allowed to do whatever I want. And it's like a random disconnect of what they're hearing and what they're receiving. So they may be getting all this constructive feedback to fix things or get better at their performance, and they just aren't listening, or for whatever reason. I'm not saying they're purposely not listening. I'm just saying
Yeah.
that they're not processing it the same way, and they're not receiving it they're on the same page. And so they just might really truly think I am doing a good job, and so I deserve this. I want to get to that next level. Um, or they might have no opinion about how they're doing. They're like, I'm doing okay. Some improvement as I've gotten some feedback. There's some improvement, but I'm doing okay. I'm not fired yet. And I just kind of need more money, right? To your point about like that personal life situation, like expenses are going up, my rent's going up, my
Absolutely.
mortgage is going up.
Yeah.
I just need more money. That I
To-
need to get to that next level just so I can get more money. I can kind of do that job because I'm sort of doing parts of it now.
They haven't fired me yet, so
Yeah,
I
yeah, they
must
haven't
be doing
fired me.
something good. Yeah. So the next step is I need more money.
Yeah,
And there are people like that, that's for sure. Just being another year with the company, they feel okay, this is time to ask for a raise.
right, right. And I think my wife works at a company where they don't always give out raises all the time. They don't give like annual merit increases. So the
Hmm.
only way to get a raise is to get a promotion, or get a title change. And
Yeah.
so in that kind of situation, I can easily see that breeding. Even if I'm not ready, I need to get that promotion because I just need a raise. Like expenses are
Yeah,
going up.
makes sense. Yeah. And of course, they don't want to have the conversation around improving their performance because they really just need the money and need to find a way to get there from their
Right.
perspective. Yeah. So that could be a little
Exactly.
bit more challenging. I'm also thinking, I wonder if, there's one thing to give constructive feedback. Then there's another thing also to create the next steps. Okay, so this is the feedback. What are the next steps to correct that, to make some changes? And then if the changes are not happening, then is the time for the accountability conversation.
Mm. Hmm. Well, I think that's absolutely right. Is you're trying to think about it. Giving feedback isn't just giving that feedback and saying, "Good luck, you go
Yeah.
do you." Right? It's part of, as a manager, it's part of that coaching
Yeah.
conversation. Like if you're a peer
Mhm.
giving feedback, you don't necessarily need to coach your peer. That's not
Mhm.
your role. But if you're the manager, then yeah, you should be trying to coach. There should be a next step to just giving the feedback. There should be, how do we improve on this? How are we going to build on this? How are we going to measure this? And then what are we going to do if it doesn't work, if things don't improve? And so yes, I think you're absolutely right. So then for you, how would you go about going into the conversation? How would you approach it if your person says to you, I need a promotion, I want to raise, whatever way we can get there, I just need to get there.
So what came up for me first is um, even what I tell my clients, if they are building the business case for their promotion, share their wins first. So I would encourage them, yes, let's have a conversation. And um, I'm hearing you really want the promotion, and let's together review your progress and see what needs to happen so that you can get there. And then seeing, depending on the relationship I have with them, if they work with me, they might be already trained. They need to bring some proof of their wins.
Mm-hmm.
What are their
Mm-hmm.
wins? What kind of value they're bringing to the company?
Mm. Yeah.
Let's say I've never worked with them before. I would still ask them. So let's reflect on some of your wins and then review the feedback. And I see the feedback, review the goals, where they are at compared to the goals. And then if there is a discrepancy between the goals and where they're at, point to that and explore what's happening there, what's standing in the way.
Mm.
And it seems like this might be the requirement. This is the gap that you need in order to get the promotion. Let's create some next steps, some goals, so that you can close the gap. And then, yes, once I see you're consistently performing 3-6 months, let's have a conversation together, let's say in a month, and see how things going.
Mm.
Because this is a requirement, let's say, to get that promotion. That's what's coming up for me. How would you approach that?
I mean, I like that. I think that's very similar to my approach. I don't think number one, if it was me, I would have already been very clear ahead of time. Like, you're not performing well because of this reason. Like, they would have already known where they stand. But let's say they still haven't been doing well, and we've already been even in the middle of some kind of improvement, coaching and whatever, and they're not improving, but they're like, I want this promotion to do whatever. I typically have a very similar approach. I'd say, okay, if you want to get there and I haven't had the conversation yet, then I'll say, okay, listen, let's that's fine if you want to get there. We'll explore why you want to get there. What is it important about you? Because that person may realize, like, they may not realize all the details of that promotion or what happens.
True.
And they may actually hate everything about that new position. But we'll talk through that. We'll explore that, why they want to do that. Is it because they're looking for a new challenge? Is it because they really do feel like they've been growing and they want to be challenged more and learn new skill sets and have a bigger role, add more value, quote unquote? Or do they just want more money? They're like, I just need to make more money. I got expenses. I'm trying to do things. We'll try to explore that. And then if it's truly a good fit in terms of exploring that, then I'll say, okay, this is where you're at here in terms of all the different parts of the role that you're looking for. And this is where you need to get to that role. These are the things you need to work on. And I'll help you build on these things. I don't want to stop you, but let's think of a plan of how we're going to get to that point, because you're still off the mark a little bit. I may not say it like that unless we're like super close or we work well together.
Depends on the relationship, of course. Yeah.
Right. But essentially, you're not there yet, and I'm not going to stop you, and I'll try to get you there. These are the things you'll need to get better at, and we'll measure this, and we'll check in, and we'll figure it out, and we'll create a development plan essentially. So if I haven't had the conversation, it's a good way to tell them, hey, you're not at that level yet. So we need to get you to that level if you really want to pursue it.
Absolutely. What I also like about your approach is really understanding the reason and their motivation for the promotion. Is it they're just bored at their current level? Is it they just want the title, the new title, for they're feeling like they're growing, progressing, kind of the sense of significance? Now I have the title, now I've made it. Is it about the money? Is it about they just really want to do something else and get a new experience on their resume? Right. Because the answer could make a difference for what's the solution there, based on their reasons.
Right.
The path could look a little different. And I'm also
which is
go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, really taking the time to explore rather than just saying, no, you're not performing well. This is not possible.
Yeah.
Or the company is not giving promotion. Sorry.
I mean, I think we created a whole podcast around that concept. How do we explore more and be curious and ask more questions as opposed to just jumping in with our assumptions or our instinct about what we think we should be happening there.
That brings me to a question. We can look what could get in the way from the leader's perspective. What could get in the way for the leader to communicate effectively? And then what could get in the way for the person, the employee that wants to get a promotion? What do you think of that? Kind of exploring that a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's getting on the same page and understanding. And I know we always talk about, let's be empathic. Let's use our emotional intelligence to really understand the other person and flex our style and think through. I think part of it is, I don't want people to misunderstand. Part of it is some people need direct talk. Some people need to directly hear, you are not doing well. And some people need that gentle handholding, and that's okay. That's where you need to come in as a manager and be clear about what's your person going to respond to. And I don't think you can't assume based upon gender, age, race, right? Like, my mom is a small little Chinese woman, it's easy to think like you need to be gentle with her. But no, you need to be like
Is
direct
it
and
tough?
tell her like she's tough. You need to tell her directly like you are not doing well. And like so she'll understand. Like she'll understand it either way, but like she's okay with you saying you're not doing well, and she'll probably appreciate it more so than you like trying to buddy up because she knows that she knows she's at work. She's not trying to be your friend.
Mm,
So it's going beyond kind of looking at what the external factors tell you about what the person's style might be like. It's
yeah.
truly understanding what do they need. Do they need that direct talk or do they need gentle hand holding? You
Mm.
know?
Now I could just talk for hours just about this one. How do we determine who needs what? There's one thing that came up for me that I hear from some leaders and clients that come to coaching saying, Lucy, I need to have this difficult conversation. I need to give them feedback, but I want to be gentle. I don't want to be a harsh boss. I had my boss previously, he was, or she was, or they were really harsh with me.
Yeah.
And they always nitpicked on what I'm doing wrong. They never said anything positive to me. And so that was really demotivating. So I want to be a different leader now. And I'm noticing I'm having really hard time telling them the negative things because I don't want to be, I want to be kind. I want to be nice to them. I also want them to like me and feel good at work. What
Yeah.
would you say to people like that, that have challenge of maybe being a little bit too nice?
Yeah. I This is the example I give back to them. I ask them this. I say, imagine you have kids in middle school or whatever. They're taking their classes, but also now they've gotten involved in sports, right? And now your kids' math grades have started slipping. They're not doing well. They've been failing a bunch of tests. And they come to you and you ask them, hey, what's going on? And they say to you, well, remember, I really got involved in basketball and I really love basketball. So I just want to focus on that. I'm not going to focus on math anymore. I don't know any parent that would say, yeah, that makes sense. You just got to pursue what you love. I think every parent would, to some degree, right, would say, no, 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 this is important. You need to do this, right? And doing that is not mean. Doing that is not saying, I don't believe in your dreams or believe in things you love, right? It's about this is also important, even if you don't realize that right now at this moment. And so that's the image I always tell people when they question that is giving feedback, talking about these things isn't about being mean. It's really about helping them understand what's important and helping them be on the right track because you don't want them to fail,
True.
right? Just allowing them to continue doing what they're doing is going to let them fail, especially if it's important, right? Like
Yeah.
that's another topic we can talk about, like determining whether you should give feedback. But it's really about how do you help them understand this is important and this is why it's important so that they can start doing it. And that's really what it is. It's not about yelling at them. You don't have to yell at them, right? You can sit down your kid and say, listen, I don't know if you realize this, but you use math in everyday life. We all use math, blah, 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 this and that, and we need to do this. So you could do your sports. I don't care if you do your sports, you need to do your math. So I'd love to hear how you approach it.
In a very similar way, just like you've mentioned, kind of looking at the reframe, is not giving constructive feedback to the person really kind to them? What are the costs if they never learn that they're doing something wrong?
Hmm.
What are the possible negative consequences? Is it really helping them? Or a year from now, they will not correct whatever needs to be corrected or changed. And there could be costs for the company. There could be costs for the manager's time because they need to maybe support them and fix some things if they don't want to
Yeah.
have the person fix them. Could be a stress level
Yeah.
increasing and the person actually never grows. So is this really kind? Looking at, no, actually giving feedback is something that might be not comfortable, but it's a way of supporting their growth. Is actually the true kindness, even though it
Right.
might not be pleasant to receive.
Right. 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 I mean, that's the whole point of the book, Radical Candor, right? It's how you help people grow.
Yeah. Just like you helped me grow when you said, Lucy, your mic doesn't sound right.
It's really to help you, Lucy.
I
Yeah.
was not happy about it, but I accepted the feedback and I'm grateful for it. And
Yeah.
all our listeners, I'm sure, will be grateful for that.
So what do you say let's demonstrate this. Let's show what it could look like to have this kind of conversation. So we
Let's
can
do
we
it.
can just at least give people a sense of what it sounds like.
Let's do it.
Hey, Chris here. I really appreciate you listening to this podcast. And if you are listening to this podcast because you're looking to get better at these difficult conversations, well, if you really want to de-escalate difficult behaviors and you want to be assertive without being aggressive and being true to yourself, I have a self-paced course that can really help you, because I know it's difficult being assertive in lots of different situations. If you're at work and you have to give feedback, if you have to deliver bad news to an employee, or deliver bad news to somebody that you care about in your personal life, or you're struggling to deal with defensive or sensitive people who are pushing your buttons and you don't know how to push back. It doesn't have to be that way. There is a world where you can handle these tough emotions with confidence. You can speak honestly and kindly while you're still being assertive. And you have the ability to manage emotional outbursts and stubbornness calmly, because these are things that I've had to overcome and learn. And so this self-paced course goes through all of those things. I've created this trust framework that helps you think through how to prepare for and how to facilitate hard conversations. And you hear a lot of it actually in this podcast as I talk about how to handle difficult conversations in lots of different scenarios. Currently, the course is closed for enrollment. There's a waiting list. If you are interested in learning more, enrollment will open up at the end of August and the beginning of September. So please go to the website. I'll link it down below, and you can learn more about it and join the waiting list if you want to hear more about it. But I'd love to see you there. All right, welcome back. And so now Lucie and I are going to role play. We're going to demonstrate this, however you want to think of it, but we're going to show you what it sounds like. So in this scenario, I'll be the manager. Lucie's been working for me. We're an auditing team. We do a lot of internal audits for our company. And Lucie is one of my underperformers. I often have to fix her mistakes, or I end up doing a lot of stuff to walk her through stuff over and over again, multiple times. And I've given her feedback a little bit, but not a ton. Probably maybe because I'm just either too quiet or not just confident enough to give her that feedback. But either way, I haven't given the feedback. Now she's coming up to me. She wants a promotion to team lead and we'll use an example. We'll use the context of our work doesn't give annual raises. You only get a raise when you get a promotion. So Lucie is looking to get to that team lead position. Because right now she's just an individual contributor. So let's take it away.
Do it.
Hey, Lucie, how's it going today?
Hey, Chris, pretty good. How are you doing?
Good. So far, so good. So far, so good. It's been a pretty quiet day, so I can't complain.
It's been nice. It's a little bit slower today on my end too.
Good.
Time to pitch
What
up.
can I help you with?
So, that I've moved recently and my rent went up again.
Oh, no.
Yeah, they just sent me a rent increase letter, and I know our company doesn't provide the annual increases, and so I wanted to see, I think I'm ready for the next level promotion, and it would really make a difference for me to have extra income right now.
To be team lead?
Yes, I believe I have what it takes.
I'm
good with people. I usually help when I can. People come ask me to help them. I usually say yes.
Yeah, I appreciate you asking. We do need a team lead. We haven't had anybody in that position for a while, so we're
I
kind of
know.
down a person. So I get that.
So I am there for you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Let me ask you this, Lucie, we haven't talked about this before. You haven't expressed interest, at least to me directly. So tell me what's interesting you about this job, or what motivates you to think about this position.
As I was reflecting, as I've mentioned, my financial situation is changing a little bit. I'll have a little bit more expense, and I'm looking at ways to also increased my income, and I've reflected on my time with our company, and I want to continue working here, and I want to continue growing with the company. And I'm thinking being a team lead is the next level for me. I've been here for years, and I know the job, I know the people. I have great relationships with the team members, so I believe I would be a great addition to the team and in that position.
Yeah. I appreciate you sharing about the rent increase, and that sucks. I'm wondering how big of a motivating factor is that for you to think about this new position?
I would say it's a pretty big motivator because everything is increasing right now. It seems like even the grocery, when I go to grocery now, I pay way more than I used to pay a year ago.
Yeah,
So
I know that story.
yeah,
I know that story. So
so I
I'm just
think it's
wondering,
just fair to get
yeah,
an
because previously we haven't talked about, you haven't expressed any interest in like overseeing other people or even just kind of leading other people, and um I'm just wondering, how do you feel like that's the next level, as in you feel like you want to do that, or you feel like it's just something you is the only step available to you?
if there's any other positions that you feel or any other ways I can get an increase in the salary, I'm open to discussing that. And if not, I feel I could do that role pretty well.
Mm.
I feel I'm ready.
I, you've said this a few times now. You've mentioned like that financial stress, and I just want to be sure. We have a bunch of resources through HR that we have an employee assistance program. If you have you
Mm.
used them yet?
No, not much. I haven't.
If it's okay with you, I'd love to share with you that information. It's confidential. They offer like a lot of free services, like financial counseling and stuff like that. So if it's something that might be interesting to you, I'd love to at least give that to you so you can call them and see if they can help you with some of your stuff, some of your concerns as well.
Sure, thank you. And at the same time, I still would love to have the conversation about how to get the raise, how
Yeah.
to get the promotion.
Yeah. Here's the thing. What I'm hearing though is it's, it sounds like you're more concerned about the financial aspect more so than doing that new responsibility.
True. I also have kids at home and I'm worried,
Yeah.
will I have the bandwidth for managing other people? And
Mhm.
the role might come with new responsibilities. And at the
Yeah.
same time, I'm able to manage my kids and be able to get things done.
I
So
get
it's
it.
just an extension of that.
Because one of the things I think about with the team lead position, I know you don't have an example because there's nobody in that position. A lot of it is coaching and mentoring of the other teammates, and then also anybody else that we bring on board, which means that on top of your work, there's no reduction in the expectations you have. And there's also an additional aspect of having to kind of coach and mentor a lot of the other folks that you're currently working with, and a couple of other people hopefully that we'll bring on board.
I mean, people already come to me for advice anyway, so I feel I've been doing that. I've been helping people. That's why it's the reason sometimes I'm slow with my own things because I'm helping other people. And
Yeah.
I'm coaching, advising, mentoring my kids too. So I've had a lot of practice with that.
Yeah. Well, that's great. I think one of the things to be thinking thoughtful about though is like, I know I haven't said it a lot, and I know I should have said it more. At that level, you can't necessarily have the same leeway with your work that we've given you so far, right? Like so far, I've given you a little bit of runway with your work, um, for a whole host of reasons. Doesn't really matter now, but at that level, we can't allow that same kind of flexibility and leeway at that point.
It seems like I've been doing pretty fairly okay. Didn't have any major complaints. So what kind of leeway you're talking about? Can you explain it a little bit better for me?
Sure. Well, I think there's an aspect of making sure that all of your work is done correctly and completely, right? And right now, at this, from what your work is done, there's oftentimes when you're submitting paperwork or completing paperwork that's either late, you're missing the deadline for whatever reason, and there's also often fields that are either incorrect or mislabeled.
Hmm.
So there's an aspect of where we have to clean that up first. So if if this is something you want to pursue,
Oh,
if this is something that you're passionate about, I'll help you get there. Just recognizing that we'll have to kind of clean up a lot of these things as we get to that point, right?
and I think that could come naturally as I'm helping other people. Sometimes that's the reason I am getting behind, because I'm helping other people with their cases. And so I naturally like that role. So maybe even my performance would improve if I am in that leadership role where I'm doing already what I like, and which is help people.
Yeah. I'm wondering, is there a way to not wait for the future? Is there a way to improve that performance and that accuracy now to demonstrate that you're ready for that next level?
Sure, I'll do my best.
What is that? You just to clarify, what does best mean?
Um, what would the best mean to you? I mean, I feel I was doing decently pretty well. Um, you're saying some things were mislabeled, so
Yeah.
maybe whenever you see something, please bring it to my attention. So then I can be aware what's being mislabeled. Maybe I misunderstood something.
Yeah. That's fair.
So
That's
then
fair.
moving forward, I can do it correctly.
Yeah. So then how about I'll propose this. How about let's focus on that for the next few weeks. Where nothing's gonna happen before Thanksgiving anyway. So we have a few weeks. So
So
let's focus on that. Every time I see that kind of error, I'll bring it to your attention. And we'll also see how well you're able to get everything in on time. Right. Like
okay.
I it's great that you're helping everybody else on the team. I appreciate that. I want to make sure you can do this first. So if that happens for the next few weeks, let's just, you feel free to send them to me if they have questions.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
I'd rather them ask me the
Can do that.
questions. I want to make sure that you're able to figure this out and do this. Right. So
Yeah.
let's do that where you get all the stuff in on time and you're able to, reduce the number of mistakes on that paperwork.
So what I'm hearing, whenever somebody asks me for help, for now, let's say the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, let's say for the next few weeks, and then we'll check
Yeah.
in on December, that first
Okay.
Monday of December, whatever that is.
Sounds good. I'll just ask them to go directly to you, and I'll
Yeah,
just be focusing on my own stuff.
just redirect. I'd love for you to focus on that, and let's see how it goes, and let's
So
revisit this conversation then. If We'll
fantastic in
see how things are
December.
going.
Yeah, I look forward
Yeah,
to it. Awesome.
yeah.
Thanks, Chris.
But we'll still, I mean, obviously, we'll still be talking in between, right? But we'll
Yeah,
have this conversation again on December
sounds good.
2nd. All
Awesome.
right.
Thank you for hearing me out.
Yeah. How's that? You feel okay with where we're leaving it?
So, oh,
Okay. Very cool. All right. Thanks, Lucy.
thank you, Chris.
All right, Lucy. Give it to
Oh.
me. How was that? Give me that feedback. How did that go?
So it seemed how I felt. You did really great job about delivering the gentle way of feedback. More gentle, at least that's how I perceived it. And there was a collaborative approach. It was a no, this is a non-stopper unless you fixed it. You, in a way, said, yes, we need to work on that. And at the same time, there was a path. You didn't say completely no, but you said, yes, and this needs to happen first. So let's see how, when this happens, how you can still get to that goal. At least that's how I perceived it. So for me, and I got a clear instructions of what needs to happen moving forward. For me, the obstacle probably is I love chatting with other people and helping everybody around me, which is a time suck for me. And that's why I, let's say, deliver paperwork late.
Could be.
I use that example from one of my clients.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah.
That it seems like her underperforming team member is chatting with everybody else and helping everybody else.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And so I channeled that employee, but it seemed like there was a way forward, which gave me hope. And I said, okay,
Mhm.
I can do that for 2 weeks. This is not such a long time, like 6 months. If it was 6 months, that might be waiting for me. But
Right.
2 weeks it's quick.
Yeah.
How was it for you? I feel I made it maybe a little bit more challenging.
So I did. So yeah, I purposely want to be collaborative. I don't want to say no outright unless you're like,
You're so
it
nice.
wasn't the scenario. Like you weren't like totally like a bad fit for this. If you were totally a bad fit, that's a different conversation. I could say, Lucie, we've been working together for a while. Can I be straightforward with you? Look, the person we're looking for this, I haven't seen a lot of that out of you so far. And so I don't think it's a good fit for what you want to do. Um, that's what I would say if I was like truly like, no
Yeah.
way whatsoever. I
Like
don't want you in this role.
this needs a direct feedback right now.
Um, but you know, I was trying to play it as like, is the money the most important thing? And I was actually trying to figure out a way to ask, if we kept you in the same role but we increased your money, would that be satisfactory?
Hmm.
And there's no way to ask that without implying that I could do that.
Ah, yes, that's a tricky one.
So I didn't want to say that.
And I didn't go there voluntarily.
Right, because I
I
think
mean,
that's the what I'm trying to assess, right? Like I asked multiple times, like, are you sure? Like it doesn't seem
yes.
like um and that's something that I do personally because I try to assess how much do they really want this kind of thing. You know, if I keep throwing up minor roadblocks, nothing like, you're a terrible person, but just minor things like, have you thought about this and this? And if they
Mhm.
still say, yes, I've thought about it, or no, I haven't thought about it, but even so, I'm still good with it. That's my
Yeah.
kind of way of just kind of assessing, like in the process, are they still really interested in this? And if so, let's explore it. Um, but if it's something that I can easily talk you out of, then you were really more interested in something else. You were interested in that money that we were talking about that I
Yeah.
assessed, and you were interested in the money for sure, right? Who isn't? And you get that rent increase. That's
Yeah.
fine. I get that.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things I do to just gently see, are you really invested in wanting to do this? And you mentioned that you coach and mentor other people. They come to you for questions. I'm like, okay, maybe that's, I haven't seen as much of that. So maybe that is happening. So we can explore that.
Hmm. And I really appreciate your collaborative and gentle approach. It didn't feel really confrontational. The second version, that the direct feedback thing, again, it depends on the personality and the relationship. But the way that you shared, it was very gentle, I would say, and
Yeah.
collaborative. And really, it seems like I felt safe to share what was truth for me, which could be
Yeah.
another blocker, that the employee maybe doesn't feel safe to tell the truth,
That's right. That could be, yeah.
or they
So
could. Mhm.
thank you for saying all those nice things. Now tell me, what would you have done differently or what could have been improved?
So an alternative, I think that would be more going to the feedback portion of you. You've mentioned a little bit
Yep.
about mislabeling certain things, on being a little
Right.
bit late. Again, when we talk, we don't have the context for this communication for the previous conversations.
Right.
Could
Right.
be tying back to the goals, looking at what were the goals for the quarter. I don't know if they have goals like that,
Mhm.
or projects that we agreed in the past this would be completed. So it could be tying back, I hear you want the promotion, and then in the past we talked about these things that they need to be addressed. What is the status on those?
Mhm.
Do you see any improvements, anything standing in the way? That could be an alternative if really the performance is a big issue. It
Yeah.
seems like in our scenario, I wonder if part of the issue would be delegated, that this person would have more leadership role, or also really seeing, understanding what is the motivation, what is the reason that they're not performing. That
Yeah.
could be another conversation, really understanding not just why they want the promotion, but also what's happening that they're still underperforming, and addressing that also.
Right, right. And we could have, and you caught me on that when I tried to give you that feedback. You're like, what do you mean by that? Um, yes, it certainly could have led into that longer conversation. Um, I think that's not wrong if you do that, right?
Oh,
You could lead
there's
into
so many
that
different
coaching conversation.
approaches. Yeah,
Yeah, right. So I think you could just certainly do that and spend time on that. Just depends on the time available to you, and if I
exactly.
wasn't expecting it, so I didn't have like the specific paperwork in front of me to
Exactly.
pull up on.
Makes
So
sense. Yeah.
it would also be reasonable to say, okay, you know what, let's talk tomorrow. Let me grab some stuff, and we'll talk through your current performance.
I love that. Makes sense. And let's see how you can get there.
Yeah.
But again, kudos to your collaborative style. And that works in many situations, especially if, let's say, the employee can be on the defensive side.
Right.
If they may be triggered a lot, because what makes these conversations difficult too, or feedback, could be that they are getting defensive a lot, and it's difficult for
Right.
them to receive the feedback.
Right. Yeah, it's my goal, I think, is to keep you as even keeled as possible. I'm not trying to overly discourage you, but I'm not trying to give you a lot of hope either. It's really just, how do I keep you even so you can think clearly about what we're talking about and plan and be willing to plan and think through what needs to happen? Because if you start getting overly excited, you're just going to agree to everything. Yeah, I
Of
can do that.
course,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
yeah.
can do this, and that. But again, also on the other side, if you start getting too defensive, you're going to start fighting me on everything I say. Even if it's like positive, you're going to fight me. So it is about, how do I keep you as even as possible so that you can continue thinking about the conversation appropriately.
I think that's an important point that you're bringing. What is the goal of this conversation?
Mm-hmm.
In a way.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this was your goal. And I think mission accomplished.
Yeah.
I didn't go to either extreme. And sometimes
That's
when
right.
I steered there a little bit, you kind of brought me back to the
Yeah.
center.
Right. Right. Exactly. One of the complexities we should address is um what happens if your boss, like, is you don't hire somebody or promote somebody in a vacuum, right? You have to go through your boss, you have to go through HR.
Yeah.
There might be a situation where your boss is like opposed to this person, right, being in the role. And so
Yeah.
in my mind, I always say I need to what's it called, separate what my boss wants versus what I want.
I like
and
that.
what and what not only what I want, but also I'll separate that, what I want versus what I can convince and persuade my boss of.
Mm.
Right? If I know for sure my boss is dead set against you, they have it out for you, they're gonna
Right.
like never prove it, then it's on me to think about, like, how important is this? Do I believe in Lucie enough to fight for this? At that point, at some point, I have to decide for myself, do I believe that Lucie could do this role? It's not just whether my boss believes it, do I believe it? If I
Right.
believe that Lucie can do this, then it's on me to figure out, how am I going to talk to my boss about this?
Mm.
But if I truly don't believe, if I truly have never thought about it and I know my boss doesn't like it and I just assume that's also the right answer, I'm not going to give you a fair shot at it. Right?
True.
Or I'm not going to tell you the true feedback that you need to hear.
I like that perspective that you're bringing, that sometimes it may be even more complex and multiple players can be influencing that.
Right?
And
Right?
in that scenario, let's say when I, as the employee, as the team member, don't get the proper feedback, or when I don't feel I have the right chance, and somebody else that maybe seems even less qualified than me, but maybe they are friends with your leader,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to feel very upset and resentful and even more demotivated. And I will probably start looking for a new job
Right.
if I have that option.
Well, me as the middle manager will also be demoralized with that
Yes.
situation. Yeah, it sucks. That kind of thing sucks, and it hurts everybody. It doesn't even matter if that friend is the best candidate possible. They could be like a rock star and the best person in hindsight. Like, we're like, yeah, that was a great
Yeah.
hire. It just, in the moment, it's going to be super demoralizing.
Absolutely. Yeah. And probably even worse when people don't have the conversations about what's happening, the
Right.
reasons, and if people
Right.
feel this is not fair,
Right.
and it gets spread through the organization. So that might be for another difficult conversation episode.
I
Our
know. I
podcast
know.
dealing with
Another episode of
communication.
navigating politics. So as a wind up or a summary, kind of what would you say are the big takeaways for everyone?
I really like your goal of I want to leave this conversation kind of have them feel even keel, like provide feedback and see how can I balance giving the feedback with also listening to what's important to them. And yes, providing the feedback, but also not to the degree that they would feel demotivated. And that's the art and science of it. Yet through listening, asking questions, and collaboration, that's path to achieving that.
Mm-hmm.
So really be curious, ask questions, and have that constructive communication and see what might be the next steps. What would be your takeaway?
I think it's that reflection of, is this feasible? If you have an underperformer that wants a promotion, I think it's important to be honest with yourself and do some self-reflection. Is it feasible? Like, do you think this person can ever get there? And then you got to have that conversation. And, I slowed down the conversation to really explore, can you do this? Do you really want this? Why do you really want this? It's just to help me think through, like, do I even believe you can do this? But if you don't, if you're like, no way over my dead body will I ever let this person get a promotion, because I have a vendetta against them for whatever reason, then that's also a reasonable conversation you got to have. Maybe not in that words, but you got to be clear about, listen, based on your performance, I don't think you're going to get there. And I don't think it's a good fit. I'm happy to help you look for other positions that might be a better fit for you.
Yeah.
Right. I'd be happy to help you explore other opportunities if you're looking to move on, if you're like feeling stagnant, but this role is not the role for you. That new role is not the role that'll fit you and your strengths.
Yeah. And really providing that constructive feedback and honest.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, very cool. Well, everybody, we'd love to hear what your thoughts are. How are you handling this? If you got an underperformer that's looking for a promotion, maybe you were that underperformer. Maybe you were the underperformer and then you needed that promotion. Somebody saw that and believed in you and you knocked it out of the park. You killed it. You just needed that change of scenery and change of context. Let us know your stories, comment, tell me what I did wrong, tell me what I did right. Like, share, subscribe, let us know what you think, and we'll see you next week on the Art and Science of Difficult Conversations.
See you next week.